It was the third year of my secret crush on my stepbrother. Fueled by a bit of liquid courage, I went for it and slept with him, Ken. But when I woke up the next day, lines of text started scrolling across my vision like live comments on a stream. Okay, I'm all for women going after what they want, but sweetie, your top priority right now is to run. Our male lead is the classic untouchable CEO. No one's allowed to touch him except for his one true love, the female lead. I was confused, but on the principle of saving my own skin, I was out. I booked the first flight I could and disappeared. 5 years later, at airport arrivals, I stood trembling in front of my stepbrother. I turned to my son and instructed him, "Sweetie, say hi to your uncle." Ken heard me and a slow smile spread across his face. "I'll give you one more chance." "Is it Dad or Uncle?" His words sent a shiver down my spine. I stared at Ken in horror. The jerk just looked down at me, arrogant as ever. How did I know? I just stared at him, wide-eyed. "Lily, you need to understand something. For the past 5 years, I've known your every move." His voice was cold and unsettling, slithering into my ears like a ghost's whisper. The familiar live comments appeared before my eyes again. Yes, give me those dark, possessive vibes. I live for this. Am I seeing this right? It's been 5 years. This channel is finally getting an update. Do you have any idea what I've been through these last 5 years? Don't even get me started. The male lead and his one true love have been so boring. I'm so glad the little cannon fodder is back. The words "one true love" stabbed me like a knife. Back then, right after I'd forced myself on Ken, it was these comments that told me he was in love with someone else. As for me, I was just an insignificant side character, collateral damage in his life story. I fled in a panic, pregnant and alone, and stayed away for 5 years. They say time heals all wounds, don't they? So why did hearing "one true love" still hurt so much? I defiantly tilted my head up to look at Ken. "Aren't you my brother? If Finn doesn't call you uncle, what should he call you?" Ken's brow furrowed. "Do I really need to pull up his birth certificate and a paternity test for you to admit it?" "Ken, Finn came from my body," I said through gritted teeth. "So?" he asked. "So, whoever my husband is, that's his father," I said with a cold laugh. "Are you my husband, brother?" Ken's face darkened. "My ride is here, so I won't keep you. Finn, let's go." I took my son's hand and headed for the parking garage. Did they just break up? Say no more. Let's just wait for the next reunion, ladies. See you all in another 5 years. No way, I just renewed my subscription. Is this all I get? I want a refund. To the ladies above, do you really think the male lead is going to let her go that easily? Have you forgotten how psycho he's gotten over the last 5 years? Reading that last comment, I almost laughed. What could he do if he didn't let it go? Marry me? Suddenly, a sharp pain hit my neck, the world spun, and I fell into a hard, warm embrace. Then everything went black. I felt like I was floating in a field of soft cotton, except for a cool sensation on my wrist, like a snake coiled around it. A snake? I shot awake to find myself on a king-size bed, covered by a light silk blanket. The heavy curtains were drawn tight, leaving the room dim. I tried to sit up in surprise, but the movement tugged on a chain on my wrist, making a faint clinking sound. Only then did I realize someone had shackled my wrist with a chain connected to an iron ring on the wall. In the dim space, the live comments scrolled by, glowing in eerie green. Holy crap! Has the male lead finally snapped? That last commenter was a prophet. Friends, take a look. That iron ring on the wall was definitely installed during a renovation. You mean Ken planned this all along? He was just waiting for the side character to come back so he could lock her up. Who? Ken. Lock me up? Why? To fight for custody of Finn? Shouldn't he be completely disgusted with me and our child, wanting us to stay out of his life forever? Just then, I heard footsteps. Ken walked toward me, holding a glass of water. "You're awake?" he said, his voice flat. For some reason, seeing him like this sent a wave of fear through me. But he just sat beside me, wrapping an arm around me from behind and holding the glass to my lips. "Drink some water." His body heat radiated through my clothes with a subtle pressure, and I had no choice but to take a few sips from his hand. "Lily, I gave you a chance to run," he said slowly, placing the glass on the nightstand. His thumb brushed over my lips, still damp from the water. "Count them yourself. How many times did I turn you down, directly or indirectly?" he asked. It was a lot of times. From the moment I realized I liked him, I confessed my feelings as regularly as I ate my 3 meals a day, sometimes throwing in a late-night snack for good measure. I had whispered enough sweet nothings to him back then to feed every brown bear in Siberia. But he rejected every single one, bluntly and with undisguised disgust. "Then you left the country." I thought to myself, this is the last time, he continued, his hand leaving my lips and moving to my neck, carrying that hint of moisture with it. I told myself, as long as you come back. His voice grew husky, as if he were desperately suppressing something. "The moment you set foot on this soil, I would never let you go again. No matter how, and whether you want to or not, you will be mine. Forever." Ken's teeth bit down on the spot his thumb had just dampened. The skin stung for a moment before being soothed by his wet, soft lips and tongue. I completely lost the ability to move. Like a vampire, Ken had me pinned under his lips. My skin felt the touch of his, for the first time in 5 years. I was completely stunned, staring blankly at the top of his head so close to my face. He paused and looked at me. The ice in his eyes had melted, replaced by a faint smile. "Breathe," he said, a little exasperated. Only then did I realize I was holding my breath so long I was about to pass out. He raised a hand to stroke my cheek, his lips pressing against mine. His movements were no longer gentle but full of aggression. Soon, even though I was trying my best to take in oxygen, I was struggling to breathe. A low hum escaped his throat. He pressed his hand on my shoulder, his palm scorchingly hot. I was completely under his control. But then his phone rang. A cello melody, deep and beautiful, that felt completely out of place in this scene. His brow furrowed, but he still got up from the bed to answer it. "What is it?" His tone wasn't pleasant. A girl's voice spoke for a long time. "Can't you handle it yourself?" Ken's voice softened. The girl said a few more things. "Wait for me." "I'm on my way," he said. I turned my head to watch his face. The passion had completely drained from his resolute features, leaving only a look of indulgent resignation, not for me, but for the girl on the phone. I whipped my head away, the chains on my limbs rattling. What was this? He had someone he cared about, someone he loved, yet he still wouldn't let me go. Was it because he couldn't bear to use these kinds of tactics on the person he actually liked? A wave of grief washed over me, and I closed my eyes. A warm hand grasped my ankle and unfastened the lock, then did the same for my wrist. "I have something to take care of at the office. I'll be back tonight. Be a good girl and wait for me at home," he said. The moment I was free, I slapped him across the face. The sharp sound echoed in the room. He froze, just staring at me, his face blank. I got scared and instinctively shrank back into the covers. He leaned down and reached for me. I flinched and tried to pull away. Quick as a flash, he put one hand behind my head to cushion it. Clang! It was the sound of Ken's hand hitting the metal headboard. Now it was my turn to freeze. But he didn't yell at me. Instead, he used his other hand to wipe away my tears. "Why are you crying?" That's when the floodgates opened. He completely panicked. He just leaned over me, hugging me and patting my back over and over, apologizing. "Lily, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I scared you," he cooed, as if comforting a small child. I burrowed into his arms, soaking up the warmth. I wanted to tell him that wasn't what I was upset about. I wanted to say, "Don't go, Ken. Don't go to someone else. Stay here with me." But I couldn't open my mouth. Because the live comments were flashing in front of my eyes. Unbelievable. The female lead is about to have a meltdown, and our male lead is over here comforting his side piece. "Don't worry, he'll regret it once he gets back to the office. Can these two stop hugging? I hate romance-obsessed idiots. Hey, you in the back, if you don't like it, you can leave. If you want a career-driven plot, go check out the male-oriented channels. No one's keeping you here." And so the comments started fighting, a chaotic jumble of colorful text. I closed my eyes. My vision went black, but the words male lead and female lead were seared onto my retinas, refusing to fade. How could I forget? Ken was the hero of someone else's story. And in that story, I was just cannon fodder, destined to be turned to ash. A sudden, inexplicable wave of anger and resentment washed over me. I wrapped my arms tightly around him, burying my head in his chest. "Don't go. Don't go. As long as you stay with me, you can lock me up, you can get mad at me, I can take it." His body stiffened, but he still pushed me away. He tucked me back under the covers. "Be good. I'll be back before you know it." I watched him through blurry, tear-filled eyes, but I didn't have the courage to ask him to stay again. He closed the door as he left, plunging the room into darkness. I forced my eyes open, afraid to fall asleep. My mother used to say you should never sleep when you're sad, or you'll wake up a raving lunatic. That's how my mother became a lunatic. Later, she died in a sanitarium. I suddenly remembered something from the live comments that night 5 years ago. Someone had described my fated ending. The comments said that since I dared to drug the untouchable male lead and actually succeeded, I was doomed. It said that once the male and female lead started dating, the female lead would find me an eyesore, and Ken would have me locked away in a mental hospital and let others torture me to death. So, I had inherited my mother's fate after all. What was there to be afraid of then? The sooner I went crazy, the sooner I'd be free. I closed my eyes and let my consciousness sink into the gentle darkness. If I couldn't be lucid while I fell into ruin, I might as well lose my mind and feel nothing at all. A pair of cold hands woke me. They were as light as feathers, repeatedly stroking my face. I opened my eyes and saw Ken, still in his overcoat from going out, sitting on the edge of the bed. He looked exhausted, but his eyes were frighteningly bright, like a wolf's in the winter wilderness, staring at me without blinking. "You're awake?" he asked softly, then touched his cold lips to mine. "Time to get up and eat." He scared the hell out of me. From the look in his eyes, I thought he wanted to eat me first. The dining room was brightly lit. The table was covered with my favorite dishes, and Finn was sitting in his high chair, obediently scooping rice with a spoon. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. "Mommy." His expression was startlingly similar to Ken's just a moment ago. The power of genetics is truly formidable. Ken went over and ruffled his hair, but Finn flinched away. Ken didn't say anything, but he looked a little hurt. After dinner, Ken asked Finn, "Want to go for a ride with Daddy?" Finn looked tempted, but he glanced at me for permission. Ken's gaze followed his, turning to me as well. They looked like two sad puppies waiting for their owner's command. I had no choice but to nod. Ken seemed even happier than Finn. He picked up my coat. "Lily, you're coming too." Just then, the elegant cello ringtone sounded again. Ken glanced at the caller ID, and his brow furrowed once more. It was obvious. The only person who could make Ken look that concerned had to be his destined one true love, the female lead. My heart sank. I picked up Finn and walked away without looking back. Finn was confused. He asked me, "Mommy, aren't we going out to play?" My sweet boy, how could I explain the world of adults, where promises are so often broken? "Not today. Your uncle is busy," I said, trying to placate him. Finn had been dragged around with me for days, and he was already at his breaking point. This was the last straw. He suddenly burst into loud sobs, wailing, "Mommy broke her promise." I quickly covered his mouth. If Ken's one true love heard Finn and found out about us, we would be done for. This made Finn even more upset. His face turned red with frustration, and he thrashed so hard in my arms that I could barely hold him. Just then, a strong arm lifted Finn from my grasp. Ken, holding his phone to his ear, cradled Finn with his other arm and said nonchalantly, "Weren't you going out to play? Why are you crying?" "Fine, figure it out yourself. I'm busy." "Bye," he said into the phone before hanging up. I looked up at him in surprise. Ken picked up Finn's jacket and clumsily tried to put it on him. Finn, finally free to speak, was now wailing at the top of his lungs, squirming and kicking in Ken's arms like a pig at a festival. "Was that call important?" I asked tentatively. "Nothing important. Spending time with my wife and kid is more important," Ken said dismissively, pulling socks onto Finn's feet. "Come on, son, stop crying. You won't have any energy left to play. Sometimes, courage is just a fleeting moment." And in that moment, I made up my mind. Ken wasn't some other story's male lead. He was the person I had loved since I was a teenager. Why shouldn't I fight for him? Why the hell wouldn't I? To hell with his one true love. To hell with fated male and female leads. I don't believe in fate. I'm not letting go of Ken. The amusement park was built on an island in the middle of a lake. The entire island was deserted. Ken took out his phone, logged into an app, and with a tap, lights began to switch on one by one, revealing the full view of the island. A unicorn on a track was brought before us. It gracefully bent its knees, and Ken lifted Finn off the ground like he was pulling up a radish and placed him on the unicorn's back. "Go on, have fun," he said, patting the unicorn's flank. The unicorn carried a delighted Finn away. Now, under the moonlight, it was just the two of us. "So, does this place look a little familiar?" Ken was looking at the sky, the ground, anywhere but at me. "This is from that essay I wrote, isn't it?" I said. But I thought I threw that notebook away. Back then, not long after my mom had married into Ken's family, I was sent to a private elementary school. But my life there was miserable. The other students thought I was tacky. The teachers whispered behind my back that I was the daughter of the other woman, and they'd often call on me in class to answer impossible questions just to embarrass me. One assignment was to write about my dream. I wrote that I wanted to be a ticket seller at an amusement park and described in detail what my ideal park would look like. The teacher read the essay aloud to the class. Just when I thought she was going to praise me, her face hardened. She criticized me for being decadent and lazy, for having no ambition, and told the other students not to be like me. The whole class burst out laughing. I ran home crying, tore the notebook to shreds, and threw it in the trash. The housekeeper didn't clean it up properly. "I happened to see it," Ken said. I didn't call him out on his lie. I just leaned quietly on his shoulder, admiring the amusement park before us, a perfect replica of my childhood dream. He didn't speak either, just wrapped an arm tightly around me. After a long while, I heard the person beside me whisper, "Don't run away again, okay?" It was strange. Ken was so tall and strong, yet his voice sounded so fragile. He pleaded with me, his voice trembling, "Lily, don't leave me again, please." After a moment, I let out a soft okay. He was overjoyed. He immediately turned and kissed my cheek with a loud mwah. "I'll marry you, Lily, and you'll be my wife forever," he said. And I chose to believe him. I closed my eyes, trying to fully absorb the happiness of the moment and ignore the flashing comments in front of me. So what happens to the female lead? Oh my God. This world has completely derailed from the original plot. Before, the side character got punished so badly for sleeping with him just once. Now they're making lifelong promises. When the main couple eventually gets together, her punishment is going to be so much worse. A moment of silence. Amen. R.I.P. Even if it's true, just as the comments say, that I'll have a tragic ending for being with Ken, I'll accept it. For this moment of happiness, I'm willing to face eternal damnation. I'm sorry, fate, but I've loved him since I was a teenager. I'm not handing him over to anyone. When we got home, Ken parked the car in the driveway. As I got out, I noticed another car parked next to ours, a cute, pastel pink one. I was about to get a closer look when the live comments in front of me suddenly exploded. The showdown is here. Oh my god, the female lead is finally going to meet the side character. I'm so excited. To the person above, I bet you're excited about the same thing I am. And just like that, I knew whose car it was. Inside the house, a slender, fair-skinned young woman stood with her back to us, leaning over a table and looking through some data. Hearing the noise, she turned around, her long black hair flying gracefully. What a beautiful face. Sob, my girl, the female lead. She's been working overtime for this jerk for 2 weeks straight. Look at her dark circles. Damn you, Ken. Capitalists should be strung up, not over here being all lovey-dovey with another woman. Can the female lead's fans just shut up? Did Ken ever like her? Did he ever even give her the time of day? Why does the male lead have to be tied to her? That's rich. Do you know what a male and female lead are? The entire world is set up for their romance. Now that the world is collapsing, we're not allowed to talk about it. They were fighting again. I rolled my eyes internally, ignored the rapidly scrolling text, and took a step forward, extending my hand to the girl. Hello, may I ask who you are? The girl stared at me blankly for a long moment, then her eyes widened in surprise. It's you. The girl from the photo in Mr. Sun's office. I turned in surprise to look at Ken, who was carefully laying a sleeping Finn on the sofa. Hearing her, his expression soured, and he ordered, Chloe, you'd better know what to say and what not to say. Chloe completely ignored him and instead took my hand in hers. Hey, is Mr. Sun a real pain to work for? She asked suddenly. Why don't you just dump him and get with me instead? I'm prettier, way nicer and more thoughtful, and I can help you raise your kid. What's so great about some careless jerk of a man, anyway? Her fingers curled slightly, her nails gently scratching my palm. I was so flustered I yanked my hand away, my face flushing red as I stumbled back 2 steps. Ken quickly stepped forward and pulled me into his arms. You dare hit on my wife right in front of me? Do you have a death wish? He said angrily to Chloe. Both the live comments and I were stunned into silence. After a moment, a faint comment weakly scrolled by. Friends, did we miss a small detail somewhere? A small detail? Wasn't Chloe supposed to be Ken's fated female lead? Shouldn't she have demanded to know who I was, slapped me hard across the face, and then ended up in a loving embrace with Ken while I faded into oblivion? Hearing Ken's words, Chloe just snorted. Ken, I've been working overtime on this project for 6 months, she said, rubbing her temples. We're at a critical stage, and you just disappear to go play house, dumping all the work on me. It's one thing to do that, but then I can't even get a signature from you. What kind of irresponsible boss are you? Chloe crossed her arms, shouting in frustration. What are you yelling about? If you wake up my son, I'm docking your year-end bonus. I pay you a fortune precisely so you can do my work for me. What are you complaining about? Ken shot back, his face a mask of sharp arrogance. They were fighting. I stared at the scene, my entire worldview threatening to collapse. They went back and forth until Chloe glanced at her watch and ended the argument. I don't have time to waste with you. Just give me the company seal. I have to go process these contracts, she said, glaring at Ken. Ken pulled a pendant off a chain around his neck and tossed it to her. Get out. Chloe rolled her eyes dramatically. Whatever. After this project is done, I'll triple your bonus. Now can you get out? Ken cut her off. And I want to borrow your wife for a day to go shopping with me, Chloe said, grinning as she stepped forward and pinched my cheek. You're so cute, little sis. Totally my type. Ken was practically seething. I'm warning you. Don't even think about getting ideas about my wife. Chloe completely ignored him, just blew me a kiss, and sashayed out of the house, her silky black hair swinging behind her. Wow, she really was beautiful. Ken rubbed the spot on my cheek where she'd kissed me, muttering, shameless flirt. I'm going to fire her one of these days. But my eyes were on another chain around his neck. I followed it with my fingers and pulled out a key. What's this? I asked. Ken's expression dimmed, and he fell silent. I tilted my head, looking at him. You can't tell me? He took my hand and placed it over his heart. It's a very long story. Are you sure you want to hear it? I nodded. He wrapped his other arm around my back, scooped me up, and carried me toward the bedroom. Then let's talk in bed. The bedroom was just as I'd left it, heavy curtains, a soft bed, and the cold chains hanging on the wall. The only difference was that Ken was lying beside me now, his arms around me. I felt as safe and warm as a bird in its nest. After that night, I was furious. I couldn't believe you would be so reckless with yourself, he said, looking at me. I could see the shadow of his past anger in his eyes. Being with your own brother. Do you have any idea what kind of judgment you'd have to endure? I lowered my head, and he kissed the top of it. But then I thought, life is short. As long as you're happy, who cares what other people think? Worst case, we could just run away together and start over in a new city. He pulled me even tighter. Is this the key to our house in another city? I asked, playing with the key. The chain around his neck pulled taut, forcing him to lean down. He took the opportunity to kiss my cheek again. My Lily is so smart. I had the place redecorated while I waited for you to come back, he said. I asked him suddenly, does that house have chains, too? He didn't answer. I smiled. So that's a yes. Do you like locking me up that much? I slipped out of his embrace, knelt up, and handed him the chains from the wall. Why don't you lock me to the bed right now, Ken? His expression darkened, and his Adam's apple bobbed. He took the chains from me, then untied the belt of his robe and draped it over my eyes. My vision went black, and I felt a flicker of panic. The cold, snake-like touch of metal slid onto my limbs, and I heard the click of the clasps locking. He leaned over me, pressing me into the bed, but then paused. Lily, did you miss me at all these past few years abroad? He asked softly. Ken has these watery, soulful eyes that make him look deeply affectionate even when he's just looking at a dog. In my mind's eye, I could see those very eyes staring at me with complete devotion. I couldn't help but nod. He chuckled, slowly unbuttoning my shirt. How did you miss me? Tell me all about it. The room was warm, and I didn't feel the slightest chill. I started to recall the past, speaking slowly. When I first went abroad, my accent was so bad that no one could understand me. Every day was a struggle. Back then, I was always thinking, if only my English were as good as Ken's. And what else? He whispered, gently holding me as he removed my clothes completely. I didn't even notice. I just kept reminiscing. The food there was always so awful. I tried to cook for myself, but the moment I turned on the stove, the smoke alarm went off. I was too scared to try again after that, so I just ate bread every day. As I spoke, it was as if I was back in those miserable years. I was always so hungry. So hungry. Ken held me close, his warmth seeping into me. My body grew warmer, but my heart felt even more aggrieved. Before I knew it, tears were streaming down my face. He quickly pulled off the blindfold to kiss them away. Don't cry. From now on, I'll cook for you every day. I'll make it myself, okay? I finally broke down completely. Ken, you're the worst brother in the whole world. Why were you so hard to get? I confessed to you 826 times, and you never said yes once. And that colleague of yours, everyone said you two were a couple. What right did you have to be a couple with her? I've known you since I was a teenager. There should be some seniority here. The iron chains on my wrists rattled as Ken, looking like the one who was truly bound, kissed my face in anguish, whispering I'm sorry over and over. In the end, we made love on a bed soaked with tears, from night until dawn. The overwhelming sensory pleasure drove away the sadness. Ken and I were tangled in the chains, as if we had been intertwined in the womb. Though, we weren't really brother and sister. Strictly speaking, we had no blood relation at all. If you had to define it, our families were actually enemies. Ken's father made his fortune by marrying into a wealthy family, by marrying Ken's mother. By the time Ken was grown, his father had long grown tired of his wife and seduced my mother, who was still in college, to be his mistress. It wasn't long before Ken's mother found out. At that time, Ken's maternal grandfather still held considerable power, so Ken's father had no choice but to get rid of my mother. My mom managed to escape that toxic relationship. She got married after graduation, found someone she loved, and had me. But one day, Ken's grandfather passed away, and Ken's father no longer had anything to fear. The sudden upheaval of my life began on that day. I was only in elementary school. I came home from school to find a beautiful car parked downstairs, with people crowding around to take pictures. A well-dressed little boy sat inside, looking out impatiently. He had big, beautiful, cat-like eyes. That was the first time I met Ken. That night, I didn't get to go home. My biological father couldn't handle the shock. He had a stroke on the spot and died on the way to the hospital. And my mother was dragged back into that sordid past by that demon. As I stood outside the car looking at Ken, his father was triumphantly leading his prize, my mother, toward the vehicle. See? Lily and Ken are together. They'll get along great, the demon said, smiling as he wrapped his arm around my mother. A tiny, mournful whimper escaped my mother's throat. Not long after my mother moved into the Sun household, Ken's mother died of depression. At her funeral, everyone pointed and whispered, calling my mother the homewrecker who had caused her death. I wanted to hold my mother's hand, but she pulled away. Mommy's a little tired. I'm going to rest. You go play by yourself. The next day, she lost her mind. I hid behind the curtains, trembling as I watched my mother's contorted face. A crowd of people surrounded her. Someone tied her up with ropes. An ambulance wailed as it took her to the hospital, and she never came back. She died in the sanitarium. They all said it was karma. But Ken watched me for a long time, then finally sighed, walked over, and patted my head. No, he said. The one who deserves to die is someone else. In the years that followed, Ken was in a constant state of war. He was going to school while figuring out how to deal with his father, and he still had to find time to take care of me. Ken was a true saint. Who else in the world would take care of the child of their mother's killer? Eventually, he succeeded in getting rid of his father and took over the business empire that was rightfully his, transforming from a looked down upon, down-and-out heir into the powerful Mr. Sun. I shamelessly stuck by his side. At first, it was dependence, but later it became love. I started confessing to him, countless times. He rejected every single one. At the dinner table, I told him I liked him, and he stuffed a peeled egg in my mouth to shut me up. When he was drunk, I told him I liked him. He stared at me for a long moment, then stumbled away and slammed his bedroom door shut with a bang. In the morning, as he was getting up, I stood by his bed and told him I liked him. He furiously yelled at me to get the hell out and ordered me never to enter his room again. 826 times. I confessed 826 times, and he rejected me 826 times. Until that one night he was drunk. Maybe the alcohol on his breath infected me, too, because I decided to hell with it and forced myself on him. Only to be told by the live comments the next day that his true love was someone else. In that moment, I was genuinely bewildered. Is being the other woman a hereditary fate? So, would I end up just like my mother, tortured into madness and thrown into a mental hospital? The blood in my veins seemed to freeze. The fear finally, belatedly, hit me. So, I immediately got dressed and ran. Those 5 years abroad were the most painful years of my life. The truth is, I lied to Ken. The foreign language I couldn't understand and the terrible food were nothing. What I couldn't bear was him not being there. That day behind the curtains, he walked toward me through all the chaos. From that moment on, I had unilaterally tied myself to him. Only by his side did I feel safe and clean. Life without him was just so hard. I opened my eyes and looked at the sleeping face beside me. After 5 years, I finally had the quiet to appreciate the feeling of waking up next to the person I love. In his sleep, his features weren't so sharp, and his lips looked soft and full. I couldn't resist leaning in and giving him a kiss. With his eyes still closed, he blindly wrapped his arms around me. Don't mess around. Let's sleep a little longer. I tried to push myself up to sit on top of him, but my whole body was sore and weak, and I just collapsed onto his chest. Coming onto me this early in the morning? Looks like I didn't work hard enough last night, he said, lazily opening his eyes and pinning me in his arms. His voice was husky with sleep, incredibly alluring. I couldn't help but tease him. Well, maybe you should do some makeup work then. The world turned upside down, and in an instant, he had me pinned beneath him. Oh yeah? Looks to me like you're not getting out of this bed today. He had just leaned down when that annoying cello music started playing again. He had to retreat, fuming. Chloe, this had better be important. He snarled into the phone. The girl's crisp voice came through. Are you kidding me, boss? You're not still on your honeymoon, are you? The bidding is today. A flash of embarrassment crossed Ken's face before he shot back, full of righteous indignation. So? Does the boss have to be there for the bidding? Isn't that what I hired you for? The other end went silent, clearly rendered speechless by his audacity. Do a good job. If you win the bid, you get a 5 times bonus this month. If you fail, your year-end bonus is 0, Ken commanded like a king. She hung up without another word. I asked worriedly, is it okay for you not to go? Ken put his phone on the nightstand and turned back to pull me into his arms. It's fine. They can handle it. I couldn't help but laugh. Okay, now I believe you really don't like Chloe. What man would work the woman he likes like a pack mule? Ken looked at me, incredulous. Me? Like her? Honey, you must be delirious with hunger to say something so terrifying. You just lie here, I'll bring you some food. He stood up, slid into his slippers, and left, his bare back covered in my artwork from the night before. I squinted, admiring it until he was out of sight. That's when the live comments reappeared in my vision, though the text was much fainter now, looking weak and tired. I can't believe the side character is still wondering if the male lead likes the female lead at this point. Just look at how my girl has been drilled into a special ops workhorse. I couldn't help but retort, well, you guys were the ones who kept telling me Chloe was his one true love. Why else would I have doubted it? The comments froze for a strange moment, then a flickering, resizing line of text appeared. You can see the comments? I felt a little awkward. I've been seeing them for 5 years. Oh my God, there's a crack in the 4th wall. Don't be so dramatic. This has happened before. I heard it has something to do with magnetic fields. Seriously, do you guys not go online? There have been tons of cases like this reported on those forums. Fine. Whatever. So you ran away 5 years ago because you saw us saying Ken's female lead was someone else? I nodded, a bit embarrassed. Speaking of which, I've been meaning to ask you guys, I said. Ken and Chloe don't seem to have any romantic chemistry at all. Why were you all so sure she was his one true love? Because this channel was labeled male lead, Ken female lead, Chloe. And the description was about an ascetic, domineering CEO being saved by his cheerful, sunny subordinate. And your tag was the pathetic side character who lusts after her stepbrother. Yikes. I asked them worriedly, so, are they going to end up together according to that plot? Girl, what time is it? Why are you asking questions that would make Ken want to die? Sweetie, it's not that I don't love my girl Chloe, but look at them. Is there even a hint of romance between Ken and her? They're more platonic than eunuchs in the palace. Side character, I get your concern. While the channel description can give a general prediction of the plot, there's also the saying, my fate is my own. If you guys forcefully break away from Destiny's plan, the channel will update the description for you. Really? So has the description changed now? I asked curiously. Are you sure you want to know? You might regret it. The tone of that comment was very ominous. I took a deep breath. It's fine. Tell me. I can handle it. You all said people can defy fate. Even if it hasn't changed now, in 5 years, or 10 years, Ken and I will change their description. You don't have to wait that long. It changed 5 years ago, you silly goose. Why do you think this channel is so dead? Everyone rage quit when the female lead got swapped out, ha ha ha. The few who are left are just holding out for a miracle. Pfft, they'll probably be waiting for the rest of their lives. Wait, what? You're saying it changed 5 years ago? I asked, shocked. Yeah. The night you two got it on. Speaking of which, if it weren't for us, you probably would have been with Ken 5 years ago. Our bad. Don't say that. If it weren't for you. I trailed off, thinking about it. Actually, if it weren't for them, I really would have been living happily with Ken a long time ago. It's cool, I wasn't being sincere anyway, ha ha ha. We're just trolls here for the drama. So what does the description say now? I asked, curious. Let me see, my darkly possessive stepbrother, his runaway sweetheart. So corny, ah. Darkly possessive. I looked up at the chains on the wall and fell into thought. What are you muttering to yourself about? Ken asked, walking in with a bowl. I quickly tried to get up. Ken. Before I could even get off the bed, my legs gave out from soreness, and I awkwardly collapsed back onto the mattress. A pleased smile spread across Ken's face. He walked over and placed the bowl on the nightstand. Don't move. I'll feed you. I mumbled in embarrassment, I'm not a child. He ignored me, pulling me into his arms. With one hand, he pressed the remote for the curtains, and with the other, he picked up the bowl. Sunlight streamed in, illuminating Ken's face. He looked at me with intense focus as he brought a piece of food to my lips, his eyes as gentle as an autumn lake. There was no trace of a darkly possessive man. I turned my head to avoid the food and kissed him on the cheek instead. He gave me a helpless but adorable smile. I think that maybe one day, on whatever unknown website this is, our channel description will change to something like a handsome husband and his beautiful wife's romantic journey. A sweet channel like that would definitely get a lot of viewers, right? I swallowed the delicious food and winked at the invisible comments in the air. You guys better keep watching. TSK, whatever. Hope you two last.